Sunday Fun Day here on Uncensored Live with myself, Clay Edwards, Lindsey Beckham to my left there on the screen, and down below us on the bottom down there, we got our good friend, Mr. Shaun, attorney at law with onetextlaw.com. Onetextlaw.com. If you F around and you want to avoid peak finding out, reach out to Shaun there at onetextlaw.com. I got that right, don't I?
That's right. OneTextLaw.com.
You can use the number one, or you can type out one.
Yeah, I got the website where it does that. If someone uses one, it works too.
Boom, shakalaka, boom. I like it. I like it. And guys, if you were in the market for any of my FAFO merch, it has been completely updated. The website at buyfafo.com. That's buyfafo.com. Or of course, all things Clay Edwards Show, including merch and BuyFAFO stuff, is all available at clayedwardsshow.com. Either or, clayedwardsshow.com or buyfafo.com. We're trying not to go overkill with ads and sponsor stuff and this, that, and the other on this show. But at the end of the day, we are coin operated. So, we got to pay our bills too.
Stanley makes a great thermos.
Yeah, exactly. You don't make it on streams. Like, that's not how this works. And we're not doing, we will gladly take your super chats, but y'all guys ain't started sending them yet.
Yeah.
You want us to quit doing ad reads? Start sending super chats.
Super chats. You got to tell people what that is.
So like on YouTube, super chats, I don't know if their YouTube channel is monetized for super chats. I know mine is. Basically, you send in a chat and we promise to read it on the screen.
If you send a donation with it.
Yeah, but yeah, you can kind of set them and do them. I may need to go in and check them and set them up right and stuff. But I know they are set up on mine. I did go through the trouble of doing it, but I'm being a little facetious. But look, if y'all know what super chats are and you're feeling it in your heart to send one, by all means. Right now, we don't feel like we're big enough to just ignore people's chats. So we're kind of reading all chats and everything, but hopefully the show grows and that changes. So with all that said, our host, Mr. Shaun Yurtkaran down there. Shaun, what is our first topic tonight? Let's try to zoom through these. I'm good for a good hour. Maybe a little longer, but I'm good for an hour.
I got you, and I got it already queued up, ready. Just give me 2 seconds. It's about JPD, which is kind of the title of the show. Is now Clay and Lindsey. They're back to arresting people for selling drugs. It's a neat new policy, like called "Drugs Are Illegal," and
a resumed policy.
They seem to be going with that. So that's what we got here.
So, when this broke yesterday or a couple of days ago, I sent this to a group text I'm in with Shaun and somebody else, or Shaun and Lindsey, a couple of different people. And I found it unique because it's the first time I recall seeing the headline with JPD being the arresting. Shaun, do you want to pause your video there?
Yeah, because I don't have the audio on. It's not working.
I can barely hear you, Shaun. Are you speaking into the mic?
Yeah, I'm speaking. You can't hear me?
I could barely hear you.
Turn it up. Does that work better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your volume, your mic level is a little low, Shaun.
Is it? Okay. All right. I'm trying to turn it up. All right. How about now? Get it up all the way. All right. Cool.
Better. Yeah. So this breaking news came through the other day, and it caught me off guard a little because it's the first time that I've seen Jackson police drug bust. I'm not saying that they haven't had any drug bust of any significance over the last 8 years, but I haven't seen them celebrate it. This is the first one in a long time that they have celebrated and released a statement bragging of such and taking a picture with the JPD logo and stuff in it. And I've 100% believed that had to do with Chokwe Antar Lumumba's administration of catering to the dope boys and, frankly, allegedly being one himself.
Yeah.
So it was a nice change of pace, and it's immediate. You're seeing in live time, very quick, the difference in a mayor that, and look, I'm not calling John Horn a pro-cop, hard right, pro-law enforcement mayor, but he's just not a anti-law enforcement mayor, where Chokwe was clearly anti-law enforcement and pro-dope boy. And I don't even think I got to say allegedly behind any of that. I think it's quite obvious.
Yeah.
So it's nice seeing the handcuffs taken off of the police chief, and I'm looking forward to being able to eat all my recent words about the police chief. But in the meantime, good job, JPD.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, I guess it seems like when you sent this to me this weekend, it seems like this is the handcuffs that we were talking about, right? This is that John Horn said, and that Chief Wade had said, the handcuffs are gone.
Well, they refused to tell us what those handcuffs were.
I think this is kind of showing what they were. This is a first step in that to me.
Yeah, well, Shaun and Lindsey, I've said this to y'all privately, and I think I've said it on here. If I'm a family member of someone who was a victim of a violent crime in Jackson the last 8 years, I am irate at the fact that, or if I'm a surviving victim of a violent crime by a dope boy or whatever the case may be, I am absolutely irate that they're admitting that there were handcuffs on law enforcement. I think that we need a full investigation into what those handcuffs were, and were they legal? Did they break the law by not enforcing the law?
And not only that, Clay, but also when you look at people who have been prosecuted in Hinds County under the DA after he made the comments that he could fix any case. I think that those people would want to go back and look at kind of how that process went, and was it legal? Was it fair?
Yeah, I agree. Shaun, I'd like your opinion on this. I'm sure I know it, but I'd like to hear it loudly. As a former prosecutor in that office, 10 years, that office was your home. It was who you were as a person for a long time. Your job there, that's not a job. That's a career. That's a way of life. It's like being a doctor, a nurse, a school teacher. It's a calling when you do a job like that. What do you think about the way that office has been represented the last few years? Is it embarrassing to an extent? I'm not saying there's got to be a knock at the people who are boots on ground, the ADAs there currently, because they're just trying to do their job. But just how far the credibility of that office has fallen.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's things that, you would look at it like, okay, the credibilities. Anthony Fox is obviously the most glaring example that we all, agree with, and we know Anthony and what happened there. And, but from a base level, that office actually functions better than the one that I worked in. I know that sounds kind of funny, me saying that, but they actually, it is a lot more functionable in terms of, the people that work there and the cases they're bringing to trial. I think there were just some political cases that made them look really bad in my mind, like Anthony Fox and whatnot. But in terms of actually the work, I think they do a more efficient job, because, if you guys know, my old boss, Robert Smith, had glaring issues.
Sure.
Kind of like a leaderless office when I worked there for 10 years. He was he was rarely at the office, and then you'd go months without seeing him. It was just kind of like that situation. And speaking about, the handcuffs off, it kind of reminded me, before you said anything, about that situation with Robert, where I could see that happening with Chokwe, where he was giving that order because Robert had decided that he wasn't going to prosecute drug dealers. That was going on. So I had made friends with a lot of the MBN guys, Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, and they used to call me up and like, Shaun, man, we don't know what to do, because we're bringing cases and we don't know what's happened to them, and they're like, Robert's not pushing them. And that was a big problem of none of these dope cases were getting prosecuted, because he just didn't want to do it. He just wasn't, I don't know what exactly, I'm not going to, I don't know what his motivations were one way or the other, but that was it. You can talk to MBN at that time. And it was just, they stopped at a point, they stopped working cases in Hinds County because of it, because it became such a problem where he didn't want to do that. Now, I don't know. I think the current DA is doing that, though, as far as I know. So, but he did not. So I could see Chokwe. My point was telling Chief Wade, we're not busting dope dealers, because Robert wasn't prosecuting them.
Yeah, I guess frankly, the office has been a shit show for a long time. Then, if you want to look at it like that. And I know that Jody's office has done a better job at some of the street level stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't control the judges. There's a problem with some of the judges in Hinds County, and I don't expect you to comment on this because what you do.
No.
But I will.
Great.
No comment.
Yeah.
We
But
love
I
it.
will. There's the catch and release. The catch and release program ain't working.
Yeah, there's, that's always been a constant criticism, no matter who's the judge in Hinds County, though. And I think a lot, just having worked there, a lot of it, Clay, becomes because of just everybody's overwhelmed with the amount of cases. You know what I mean? And so people, sometimes get better deals because you're just you're kind of like, it's kind of like working on an assembly line after a while, because there's so much going through and you don't have the time to devote. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff that you see people, get out easier, is because there's just not enough manpower up there. There's just too much, from the kind of crime that we've got now to when that office was established and how many assistant DAs they had, like let's say in the 1980s. Well, the amount that they had and the amount of judges, the 4 judges really fit that era. But right now, it's just, I mean, it's too much. I mean, they really need to have a lot more judges up there. That's number one thing, because there just isn't enough courtrooms or enough.
Let me ask you a question. You bring that up, and I had never really thought about the amount of judges. If Shaun Yurtkuran had a magic wand and you could wave it, given your experience on both sides of the bench, or whatever you want to say, being a prosecutor and a attorney, a criminal defense attorney, if you could, 2 or 3 things, no limit here. Just first, if you had one day to implement what you thought would fix the criminal justice system, so to say, in Hinds County, beyond getting people quitting committing crimes, but as far as the prosecution of it, what would you do if you had one day to fix it all? Let's say 5 things or less. What would you implement that you thought could streamline this thing and get it back right?
I think you need a minimum of 10 circuit judges. I think you need 10. And and that's evidenced by when I was there, we had a grant called the JET grant, which was funded from all that Katrina money at that time.
I recall that.
Yeah, and we brought in some other judges, and we had what's called the rocket docket, which all the old cases we'd send to those judges, and they'd settle them, they get resolutions, and those things, it got the docket moving.
But to that point, Shaun, if you're going to have more judges, you've got to have courtrooms that are operable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you
not.
got to find other courtrooms around, right?
But yeah, let's, for the sake of this conversation, let's pretend that's been situated.
Yeah, I think you need at least a minimum of 10. And obviously, you'd have to up the number of prosecutors and public defenders to do it. And then the jail really needs to be situated closer to the courthouse, because that's created a logistical nightmare for everyone for so long.
Raymond.
Yeah.
If you've ever had to be, like, I've been in the jail, so as a criminal, if you've ever had to get bonded out of that jail, it is a pain in the ass, because the bondsman has to come out there, get you to sign something, go back to Jackson and get it signed. Then they have to come back out there again to get you out. There is no easy way to do it. It involves multiple trips to and from Raymond. You sitting your ass in that holding cell for, like I said, if you ever get arrested in Jackson, don't have any plans for dinner.
No, I mean, I think about it, like if you're a defense attorney, like what I do, or a public defender who has to go out there more, you got to make all these trips out to Raymond just to see your clients and be like, this is the deal they want, that they've offered you. And then the client doesn't want it, you got to go back to the DA, I mean, it's a lot of traveling back and forth to Raymond.
If you show up at shift change time, you have to sit there
then
and
you're
wait.
sitting there for hours. Yeah,
because I guess a lot of people don't know that, Shaun. I didn't know that until I started dating you, that they do that at different times every day. And that's because they don't want people to know when the shift change is going to be. And so you never know as an attorney or a public defender if you're showing up at that time and are going to have to sit there and wait.
Yeah. I mean, that it's, the jail it's funny because people don't realize how important the function of the jail is actually to the safety of the county. And I think Tyree's doing as much as he can with the shit show he was handed. But if you look at the Madison County jail and especially the Rankin County jail, this is one thing I'll say really good about Brian Bailey. That jail runs well. I mean, it runs very well. Like, you go there to see your client, you're in there, you're out there. It's not a problem. And it's, of course, it's right next to the courthouse, so that makes everything easier. So that jail, that is a model jail in terms of efficiency, I think. I think if we had,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think if we had something like that in Hinds County, that you moved it close to the courthouse and that kind of efficiency, man, that would really start moving the docket a lot and start moving these cases, because I mean, you get to a point, you're like, I'm sure if you're a public defender, I mean, I'm not a public defender, but if you were, you get tired of always you had to go see 10 guys at one time, because you're doing this one trip out there, and then you're trying to get all this stuff done in like a day, and then that's usually the Friday before you got court on Monday, and it's just a mess. So I think that would be I hope they say they're building this new jail over by Henley Young. I don't know where the money's coming from for that, and I'm not going to hold my breath till it gets built, but I think it's sorely needed.
Sure. Anyway, it's going to be right there. For people that aren't familiar with where Henley Young is, it's right around Pops around the corner, and Cannon Nissan right there at the Gallatin Street, McDowell Road exit on the hill in South Jackson.
Yeah. It's so to be easy to drive from downtown courthouse right there to go do all that stuff. So hopefully they'll get that done. But yeah, they need more judges, they need more prosecutors and public defenders, because otherwise, if you got 4 circuit judges, and people don't think about this thing. So you got 52 weeks in a year, and you got 4 judges. I mean, they're not having a trial every week of the year. You can't do that's not feasible. That's not possible.
And then you have some trials that go on for longer than a week.
Yeah, and then they have a civil docket. They got civil cases they got to hear, so they can't hear criminal every single week of the year. They got to hear their civil cases. So I mean, you're just not the most. If you took if you were trying 40 to 50 murder cases between 4 judges total, that's a killing it, and that doesn't ever happen. That's really hard to get to that number. So I mean, and when you have this amount of murders, we got 100, 150 a year.
Well, then you think some are hung up and they have to be retried.
Got to be retried. I mean, or because you're not able to plead those cases out as easily. You can some of them, but most of the time on a murder case, you're going to go to trial. I mean, majority of the time, unless you can convince your client to take a plea deal, which is going to be something like 25, 30 years or whatever it is on like second degree murder or whatever it is. So those are cases that are going to go, well, you get that docket gets backed up because there's just not enough trial weeks for that kind of stuff because not enough judges. So that's, that creates a problem that we're seeing now.
Yeah. Raccoon Man said, legalize all drugs and put them out of business. And Shaun, that's something that, I mean, I think you have spoken to a good bit and something that you would almost agree with doing.
Well, Mike Madison has proposed that for a long time. And, it sounds crazy on the surface, but as you peel that back just a little bit, it's logistically, it's not as crazy as it may sound.
I mean, I think it very well could be the only way to win the drug war. Because Shaun, I know you say this all the time. The drug wars, we're not winning.
Yeah, we lost that a long time ago. The drugs won. It's just I hate to break that. It won, and we've been fighting for 50 years, and we haven't stopped the drugs. Like we're not stopping that. And I think that when you try to do the same thing over and over again, it's like the definition of insanity. But we don't ever do that when it comes to the war on drugs, because I mean, let's be honest, too many people get paid in it, right? Lawyers get paid, law enforcement gets funding, judges and prosecutors and courts. I mean, it's just it's a whole system of this, and it's not gonna. I mean, and it's not gonna stop because of those things, I think.
No, I agree. Circling back to what we were initially talking about here, this drug bust.
Mm-hmm.
Shaun, tell us a little bit about it. You got to I was trying to find it on WLBT, the actual story, but I can't find the link here.
Yeah, it's a JPD narcotics unit. See, look, now we know they've got one, right? They were, I guess, they were in the basement there for a while when Chokwe was mayor, and now they're like the JPD narcotics unit is back on the hunt. They executed a search warrant on 400 North Flagchapel Road, and if you're familiar with Jackson, you know that area of town's not the best area of town, Flagchapel Road. And they discovered, I guess, they came in and they found marijuana and OxyContin pills. Obviously, I assume they got some sort of tip or CI that led them to this and gave them probable cause for the search warrant, and we're able to confiscate all that. And that's what the article says.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I don't know if y'all could hear that. I did find it, and the video started. So
it sounded like a burst of air or something.
Yeah. So it looks like over on Flagchapel, marijuana, OxyContin, effing Herstal semi-automatic handgun also found. What is that? Effing is that a brand?
I've never heard of that.
Or a style? Where's that coming from? All right, you got it fixed. So that's what is a effing Herstal?
Never heard of that.
Is that any way of saying fucking hostile?
Yeah.
Speaking of guns, my guest tomorrow on the heavy hitters portion of my Monday show, the 9 to 10 hour, the third hour, is going to be Hunter Sarton with Guns and Gear.
Love Hunter. He is a great,
he's going to be my guest tomorrow, discussing his origin story of Guns and Gear and kind of how all of that came about, his history a little bit. And we'll talk about some current gun stuff as well, but the purpose of the show is to kind of shine a light on these great local business owners and let people get to know them on a personal level and kind of what drives them to be an entrepreneur. And I just love entrepreneurial stories. I don't care what the business is. Some of the most mundane businesses have the wildest stories of how they became successful. So those are what we're hoping to bring to people.
Not only that, with him, Hunter is going to be the first one to show up if there's any sort of disaster in the area or anybody is needing help. He really is. That's the kind of guy you want to do business with.
Really glad you said that, because you're 100% correct about that, Lindsey. He's got that huge tank of a truck that he shows up with when there was a flood. When Jackson was flooding, he was one of the first people on site to offer assistance with his big because it's one of them big amphibious type I don't know how to explain it if you don't know what I'm talking about, but it looks like Bigfoot, but the bed is a passenger vehicle, so to say. You put like a dozen people sitting back there to rescue people in flood zones and stuff of that nature. or
Yeah.
transport soldiers in and out of, rough terrain.
And I just feel like that's important to me, where you businesses that you patronize and spend money with, it's like it makes it that much easier to do so when you've got good people.
Yep. And I did Google FN Herstal.
Yeah, what is that?
There's an arms manufacturing company out of Belgium. So
Okay.
That's
sounds like some type of expensive gun.
gun brand like Smith and Wesson. So somebody said that.
It's just strange for them to put the name brand of the gun in the title. You can tell JPD is still getting used to doing these press releases again.
Yeah.
It's been a minute, I guess, for them.
Semi-automatic handgun would have been suffice.
Yeah.
But as a guy that I'm not, I tell you all the time, I love guns, but I'm not a gun guy. So as an aspiring gun guy, I appreciate putting the name brand on there because now I've Googled it and I've learned something. So thank you, JPD.
What makes a gun an assault rifle?
Nothing. That's a fictitious title.
So there's nothing.
So
any gun can be an AR? Yeah,
if you assault somebody with a gun, it can be an assault. Well, if it's a rifle, it can be an assault rifle, so to say. If you assault somebody with it, it is officially an assault rifle. Okay. But that's something they try to call ARs. Anything I think we talked about this the other night, didn't we? Anything like these black guns that look mean, and aggressive. They like to call those assault rifles.
Yeah.
But they take the same ammo as their hunting versions. They're no different. I mean, I'm not offended by the assault rifle thing. I know a lot of gun people are, and they get all up in arms, pun intended, about it. There's no such thing as assault rifle. And I get it. And it's one of those liberal mainstream media terms where they want to use it to make the gun look bad and make people who have AR-15s and stuff of that nature, look violent and whatnot. But I don't care. Call it whatever you want, but
yeah,
it is what it is. It's the same people that get mad about that are the people who get mad about the difference in a clip in a magazine.
Oh, is that the same thing? I know nothing about guns.
It's all terminology. It's all terminology, like how you say things like this, right?
Like I get it. Like I don't fault either side, but it's just like I've got other things to worry about than the technicalities of an assault rifle versus a rifle or a clip versus a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, well, good job, JPD. I hope to see a lot more of these headlines because we know that there's a lot of these type crimes going on in Jackson, and y'all have had your heads shoved up your proverbial asses for the last 8 years on it. So it's good to see y'all getting out and doing these and bragging about it and letting people know that y'all are actually out fighting crime. I'm sure CJ LeMasters will be just ecstatic, probably rubbing one out, thinking about it.
Was he the one who did
it? With JPD's the reason why crime's down.
Was he the one who did the article?
Probably not.
No, Emma Nesbitt. That's
yeah. Never even heard of Emma, but good job, Emma. So.
Well, no, I mean, I guess CJ probably would. He'd be congratulating JPD because it's JPD. As long as it's not Capitol Police doing it. Because Capitol Police do it, it's like, oh, well, Capitol Police takes advantage of young aspiring entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly.
Show, I guess, right?
Yeah, man. And I'm glad you worded it perfectly there, Shaun, because that's the vibe it puts off when he goes after one particular law enforcement agency versus another. I mean, I'll tell y'all my biases. I think JPD has been horrible the last 8 years or so. It really, frankly, longer than that. And I have no problem telling people that I think they've been terrible.
I mean, y'all both know I've told the story numerous times about my sister's murder in South Jackson in 2009, and I mean they did nothing. So there have been problems at JPD for a very long time.
Well, it's been funny. They one of the things they try to hang their hat on is their homicide solving rate.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. First off, you're not exactly dealing with criminal masterminds over there, and you're getting enough swings at the bat. You absolutely should be, or enough swings at the ball. You're getting enough at bats that you should have a high closing average,
more than anyone else in the entire country per capita.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, well, like I said, in my years, we did have there were some good detectives though. Like I mentioned them before, Eric Smith, who was killed, and Tyree was there, and those guys would solve some stuff. But I do what you're saying, Clay and Lindsey. I mean, sometimes some of these, just having prosecuted a lot of these guys, I mean, it's not like not a lot of them hide their tracks very well. It's not they're not the hardest. I mean, somebody always talks. That's why I'm always like the non-conspiracy theorist of the group, because somebody spills the beans in every one of these things usually. Somebody talks. Even when they don't have to talk, they talk.
So they're not all really future rocket scientists and astronauts and engineers.
Well, I've said this, to clients and, and joking around, like if they didn't talk, or if criminals didn't talk, we'd have a hard time prosecuting them when I was on that side. I mean, it'd be really, really tough because they just end up, they tell somebody in the neighborhood and that person tells somebody else, and then it gets out and the cops get to them, and it just spreads like wildfire. I mean, nobody can just keep their fucking mouth shut. That's just shut up, don't say anything, but they talk. And because it's not like most of the time, you see like CSI and stuff, like we're finding the gun and we're matching the print on the, that's just not happening. Like there's so many, I can tell you maybe 10% of my cases, did we find some cool like DNA evidence on a hat or whatever. I don't remember a single case I've ever had when I was a prosecutor where we had a fingerprint on anything. Like we had a shoe print one time on this guy. This is kind of funny. Broke into Trent Lott's house. Senator Trent Lott's got a house in Hinds County, and he broke into Trent Lott's house and he kicked the door open. We were able to match his shoe print. And that was the only time I think I've ever seen any print evidence in my entire life.
I mean, aren't there multiple shoes?
Well, he was print? This guy. Real quick, I'll tell the story. So it's out in the rural area. It's not Raymond, but where Trent Lott's got this antebellum house.
Oh yeah, you've told this story. This is a great story.
Yeah. So this guy goes there and he kicks the door down, and he's wearing these like K-Swiss shoes, and they find him. He's out there on the road running, and the police, right after the burglary, like his alarm went off, like found him, and he said he was just jogging out there, like in the middle of nowhere, and they arrested him, and then they matched his, K-Swiss shoe to the door, right to the door, and there was some other evidence I can't remember right now that linked him to it, but that was the only time I think I've ever used print evidence. And Senator Lott did testify in that trial. He came down from DC. He was still a senator. I think he was still a senator then. And he testified. And the funniest thing about that, it was like I'll tell this out loud. I told Clay and Lizzie this before. My black coworkers were messing with me, right? Like, because they're like, you're never going to get a conviction on somebody who broke into Trent Lott's antebellum house. That Trent Lott had made all those sort of, well, I don't know if you call them racist, but some bad remarks before about like, endorsing Strom Thurmond. This is going way back. And so at that time he was kind of looked at like the racist guy. And so we placed bets on the trial. Did I win this case of like Trent Lott, the racist senator in Hinds County with an all black jury? And I did win. They convicted the guy. So I collected drinking money that weekend.
So what made him racist?
I mean, some comments about Strom Thurmond. I can't remember.
He was Clay before Clay was Clay.
No. It was he had made some. Like,
I'm kidding.
He had made some comments about, God, this is like 2007 or 8, and I can't remember what the comments were. It was something about he said something about Strom Thurmond. You remember Strom Thurmond, who was a senator?
Strom Thurmond. I thought you were saying Trump. I'm like, I don't recall any of this. What?
Strom Thurmond. Yeah, Strom Thurmond, who was a senator.
Yeah.
And Thurmond actually was on the Dixiecrat ticket in 1948. This is how old Strom Thurmond was at this time. And he had run against Harry Truman under like the whole like keep segregation forever platform. Yeah. Anyway, and Trent Lott gave a speech like at his birthday saying something like, oh, if Strom had won that election, the world would be a better place. Something like that, right? And that's where people were like, well, if he had won, he wanted to keep segregation forever. So Trent got a lot of shit for that.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. That's right. Okay. I remember all that.
Yeah, so that's why my friends were fucking with me that I could not win that trial, because everybody in Hinds County would obviously think he's a racist, so they don't care, but they did care, and they all voted to convict the guy with the K-Swiss footprint. So
yeah, so we're getting some complaints about the foul language.
Oh,
but look, Donna, I mean, I apologize, but the show is called Uncensored. I mean, we know it's probably better off not cussing. But every now and then, a well-placed F word beats everything, beats anything else.
My language
is what it is. But yeah, we're aware. We've had conversations privately about it, but
I try to tell him, Donna. I try to tell him.
But it's hard. It's hard not to cuss. You'd be amazed. I mean, the fact that I get through 2 hours of radio every day without dropping 2 or 3 F-bombs is quite the miracle in and of itself.
And I've told Matt before, Clay, that it's unfair that the dump button is like, I don't have arms as long as yours. Like I can't reach over and hit that button First of all, it's got to register in my brain that somebody has said, which I think the only times it's happened are with Kingfish, to be honest, on our show. But it's hard to get over there to that button.
Speaking of Kingfish, he's calling me right now. Doesn't he know?
Oh, that's so weird. So would somebody ask about Frank Melton, what y'all think about how Frank Melton did things in Jackson?
Well, I mean, look, I don't mind rehashing it. We've talked about Frank a lot over the years, and I don't know if he was. I think distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? I think that we've had so many bad mayors and so much bad shit go on in Jackson that it really makes us yearn for a time when Frank was doing Frank stuff, and Frank did a lot of bad stuff too.
Yeah,
so
I don't necessarily mean the alleged criminal activities. I mean, just like he went on an all-out attack on good businesses that weren't the upper level, that weren't street, strip clubs. Like there were good regular nightclubs that were just operating normally, and he did all he could to put the nightlife out of business. And it affected me, it affected my family, but I still supported Frank because we wanted a safe Jackson.
But I don't know that any of his actions actually assisted with that. That was the only thing. He was a lot of fluff, in my opinion. I guess I was at the DA's office at the time. He was mayor, and it just seemed like he was just, he was a lot of show in my mind. Like it wasn't a whole lot of action. I mean, it was action, but some of it was stupid. And that's where I don't know. I think there's like a Frank resurgence or revisionist history going on. You know what I mean? Like we're like, oh, Frank, I guess because we had Chokwe, and when you look at Frank versus Chokwe, you're obviously gonna like Frank.
So Frank was not well liked when he was in office. I
it was split. I don't know if you could say he wasn't well. I mean, he got indicted. Now he got indicted by Faye Peterson, who was the DA before my boss, Robert Smith. We actually beat her in that election, 2007, partly because of this. And
sorry, Faye.
Frank had, I know, right? I wish Faye had, Faye and Frank did not jihad at all. And at that time, so Frank and Clay, you probably remember the Ridgeway Street incident. You know what I'm talking
about? The house.
Yeah. So back in 2006, he and some guys, whenever I think Riccio and Marcus Wright were with him too, right? The two JPD officers that were like his bodyguards, and they busted up this crack house, which I don't know if it was a crack house or not. They didn't have a warrant. And they just went there, and Frank was drinking all night too, by the way, from all accounts.
Yeah, I'm still buddies with Marcus. I like him.
Yeah, I like him. I like both of those guys.
I didn't know the other guy, but
yeah, the big white guy.
Yeah, I never got to meet him, but I do know Marcus, and he's a good dude. He's with Capitol Police now.
He's a great dude. I remember him coming around the DA's office after this. They were just kind of assigned to him. I don't think that they, you know what I mean, were co-signing on the stuff or anything. But so yeah, Frank just went over there and broke up that house, and so then Faye indicted him for that, and then they went to trial really quickly, but he was found not guilty in that case. He was represented by Merida Coxwell and Dell Danks, actually, and I watched most of that trial. But I
mean, you ought to be able to tear down crack houses. Let's just be honest about it.
That's kind of, I remember Merida's closing argument, like he put something on the jury rail and said, one piece of crack lights a firestorm in the community. It was a great closing, and it worked because it was a conscious of the community kind of closing argument where people were like, yeah, why do we care about the crack house? And so Frank walked because people didn't care about the crack.
Because it felt like a political attack, than a realistic criminal trial. It felt like they didn't, once he got in there, they didn't like the way he was doing things. He was shaking things up, and they didn't like it. He was kind of a Jacktown Trump at the time. Before there was Trump.
A little bit, right? He just because he was indicted for other things too. I can't remember what they were. There was some other things, some gun charges, like on a school. I think he wore some guns to MC, and he had to plead guilty to that. There were several things that he did that caused him some issues. So
yeah, and let's see. If I pronounce your name wrong, I apologize. Avshara on YouTube, the top comment says, didn't he drive a tractor into a crack house or something? Yes, that's what we're discussing here. I think it was like a track hoe or a backhoe or something that they tried to just knock a crack house down with. And it was just that, a crack house. And, one of his more famous beefs was with Tenari Moore.
Yeah.
Out front of the upper level nightclub. And they kind of whooped Tenari's ass, so to say. And he got his mama out there. And I mean, Tenari's a bad dude. And I mean, Frank wasn't wrong on that. I mean, Tenari just ended up being the reason that several people went to prison and killed a guy and some other stuff. So didn't he kill a guy too?
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's been convicted of that yet, but
Yeah,
I think that was
and
something.
he's also a federal snitch and
Mhm.
some other stuff. I mean, he brought down several. So he's a bit of a hero and a villain all at the same time. But
Yeah.
yeah, Frank and Tenari had a big beef going, and he never quite understood what it's about. Because why would the WLBT guy and the nightclub owner not like each other to that level? Because Frank, the second he became mayor, he went straight in on Tenari. Like it was like top of his list. Like Trump going after Rosie O'Donnell.
It's been something personal.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is I believe, now this is just my assumptions here, allegedly, all those legal words to keep me from being sued here. I imagine it was the dope. They were both running dope, and it was a dope. Frank was putting his competition out of business. Because I do believe that Frank had something to do with the dope trade.
Yeah, I mean, there were just so many. Actually, I worked on this case. I don't know if you guys ever heard Sherrod Moore, who killed a Jackson. Allegedly, he didn't. He's allegedly killed. The case was dismissed, so I don't want to say he didn't get sued. R.J. Washington, who was killed in 1995, and that was kind of an infamous case around here for years. And so we were working on that thing, and there was interviewing a lot of the people associated to Frank. And I mean, I don't know that I did. I can't remember somebody I didn't talk to that said that Frank was involved in the dope trade. Like there was so many people that were, being very descriptive about things he was doing and where the drugs were coming from and all that.
Yeah. I for the long time, I've said that I didn't believe Frank was involved in the drug stuff. I mean, and this is just a rather recent here in the last year change of mind that I've had on that. But I do believe that I think he did have something to do. I just think that where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke when it comes to Frank and these allegations. And if you just kind of remove your biases and personal opinions about people, and you start looking at it, it's like, well, why did he have such a problem with this guy? You know, and he was never at that time, he wasn't a convicted drug dealer or anything like that to the best of my knowledge. Talking about Tenari, like why was this new mayor going after this guy so hard?
Yeah, I don't know. That was, the if you were around here in 2006, 2007, 2008, the upper level was a big topic of conversation in those days. Everybody kind of knew, that was where Frank was in that direction of the upper level.
I mean, they were our direct competition at Club 105, but we always got along. It was never like a ugly competition. Now, my big rivals, my ugly competition was Dax Owens over at Danny's when he decided to get into the non strip club business, but that was later on in 2014 when I had a different club. And then prior to that was John Adams when he opened up when I had Crazy 8 and he decided to open up that other club that was once a strip club right next to the one he got in trouble for for getting rezoned or whatever. The one next to Pops, Oasis, whatever it's called.
Is that the one we were talking about last night? No,
I don't know. We were talking about Bar None last night with
No, that's a whole different deal.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Yep, that's a whole different thing. So
some crazy stories.
We had some good bar stories last night. Let's some really good ones. Jackson bar history.
So let's I don't know where you got it on the list here, but let's jump to some national stuff. It's the 1 year anniversary of Trump getting shot.
Oh, that's okay. That makes sense why you sent that earlier. I was like, where'd that come from? Yeah, the Clay sent in our group chat earlier the CNN headline after of the picture of Trump kind of bloodied up on the stage that claimed that he had fallen and was escorted off by Secret Service after falling. And I said, how on earth did they think they could get away with it? This was being streamed live across the country. He was clearly shot.
Oh yeah, clearly. Yeah. I mean, I had just picked Shaun up in his driveway. Then we were going out to Martin's at Livingston to meet Corey for some drinks and to hang out and have a guys' night. And that news broke as we were backing out of Shaun's driveway. And he's like, "Do we just need to go back inside and watch TV?" I'm like, "No, let's watch it on our phones." Like, I've been wanting to get out of the house for a week. We're getting out of the damn house. So I remember being at Martin's out there at Livingston, and it was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I remember there was a guy, I don't remember who was playing, but there was one of those one-man acoustical jam things. The guy was in the corner playing, and nobody was paying attention to him. Everybody's on their phones and watching the screens more than normal. And I just remember after he got done, I called him over to the table, and I remember I think I tipped him like $20 or something. I was like, "Man, it ain't you tonight, bro." I said, "We are all, we're preoccupied watching with this whole Trump shooting."
absolute horror and just the country feeling like they've been gut punched, to watch this happen. And then as details started to emerge, it just became more and more sickening. And, still to this day, we have not gotten any new details about the shooter. They just there was this huge article about the shooter last week, and I read the whole thing, and there's just no new information about what caused it, like what made him. I don't believe for a second that some 20-year-old just this is what he's going to go and do without some sort of prompting.
Well,
But that's
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think we're getting closer to that, to finding out what happened there. Shaun, I see you've already got it pulled up on the screen. Thank you. I've got a video here, and I haven't even had a chance to listen to this. This popped up in my peripheral as we were getting ready to come live tonight. But this is Trump saying that he has been, briefed on the whole deal, and he's satisfied with what he's heard as far as the Butler assassination attempt. I'm gonna make sure I got everything ready here. I'm gonna hit play. This is Trump on Fox News.
There was so much conversation after that, though. You had members of Congress visiting the site there, people really on top of wanting to get answers to that. But I think we still are wondering.
Yeah. So they
Oh, there's the sloped roof that the Secret Service couldn't put nobody on because it was sloped.
briefed me numerous times. The FBI, the Secret Service, sort of everybody. DOJ, Pamela's doing I think she's doing a fantastic job. But they briefed me, and I'm satisfied with it. They should have had somebody in the building. That was a mistake. They should have had communications with the local police. They weren't tied in. And they should have been tied in. So there were mistakes made. And that shouldn't have happened. And that building was a prime building in terms of what they were trying to do. So, but I was satisfied in terms of the bigger plot, the larger plot. I was satisfied. And, I have great confidence in these people. I know the people, and they're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day. This is a very dangerous job, being president. I say a race car driver, 1% of 1%, think of that, die. It's not a lot. A bull rider, I think that's pretty dangerous. It's like 1/10 of 1% die. And with the president, it's like 5%. Why didn't you tell me this? I could have maybe made a different decision. But I wouldn't have made a different decision because we're doing so well. The country's back. And it's, as I said, everyone's saying we've got the hottest country in the world. Even doing this interview, I feel guilty because I'm supposed to right now be working.
I want to say one thing real quick. One thing that gets overlooked and doesn't get talked about as much is, in a little revisionist history here, Trump was not the president when this happened. He was a former president. So, and I'm not making any excuses for the Secret Service. However, they prioritize the amount of agents you get assigned to you when you're a former versus current president. And the current administration and their significant others take higher priority than a former president, even though he was the front runner for the Republican ticket at the time, or I think he was already the Republican nominee.
Yeah, he was already the nominee. And
so
I think that
he should have had plenty of agents. This shouldn't have even been an issue, but they had what was I'm trying to say? They had moved a lot of his normal staff over to Jill Biden, who I think was speaking or was in Pittsburgh at the same time. And so they had moved some of his additional staff over to her instead of him in this open air rally. And then the more I say this out loud, the more ridiculous it sounds. But they had a bad day, all right. And I still, look, I'm not such a conspiracy theorist, and God knows Shaun and I talked about this on the air ad nauseum, but I'm not such a conspiracy theorist that I think that the FBI and the Secret Service and the Biden administration or whoever else lined this guy up and put him on that roof. I think that what I've constantly said was, I believe if you leave enough doors open, somebody's going to walk through one. And I think they were complicit in the sense that they let failure. They allowed failure to happen.
Well, not only that, but the constant narrative they pushed was threat to democracy, threat to democracy. He's so bad. He's so evil. I think that also plays
100%. I
into
mean, well, they
it.
drove people crazy. They literally had people that thought that if Trump wasn't unalived, that democracy was going to crumble. And then you leave enough back doors open, somebody walks through one. One of these crazy people walked through the back door and sits on a roof and shoots him. And that's what happened, in my opinion. I don't believe it was necessarily we're going to pay this guy, or well, you can't pay him, if you killed him. But I don't think he was part of a project. I think that he's just the idiot that found the door open when he wanted to walk through it and nobody stopped him.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying he was not the Lee Harvey Oswald of the situation where he was, like he was involved in some mass conspiracy with other people and set up as a patsy and all that kind of thing.
Right. I don't think he was, I know there's all kind of stuff about him being in a BlackRock video, and there are some strange things that I do have questions about. He was in a BlackRock video for school, something or another, and that's all true. That's not myth or conspiracy theory. He really was in a video for BlackRock, which has been painted as this big boogeyman the last few years, especially by people in right-wing circles, myself being one. But I don't want to feel like a NPC bot either, because I don't really know why we hate BlackRock. I mean, I know they buy up a lot of property, and they make it hard for people to own homes and make everything you'll own nothing and you'll like it kind of stuff. But I don't really know what their incentive to want to kill the president would be.
Well, they want to control everything.
Yeah, but I don't think killing the president helps them control everything. I mean, they just kill another president. They got to kill a lot of people that want to control everything.
I know. I think they've also that organization has been a big donor to Democrat candidates across the country in different races. I believe. I need to fact check that, but I think that's what I remember.
Yeah. Well, I guess my bigger point personally is just that I'm not ready to step off into full conspiratorial grounds and say that the Secret Service was working with the guy that killed Trump. I just think that they created the opportunity for him to walk through an open door, and he did. I do believe that it was intentional, maybe even unintentionally intentional, if that makes sense. That people that in the government hated Trump enough that they would just peel the protection back enough, peel the layers of his protection back enough over time that something would happen. I do think that that was by design, but I don't think not to the extent that they knew who, what, when, or where it would happen.
You know what the funniest conspiracy theory of that whole thing, and you know what I'm going to say, and Lindsay knows what I'm going to say, because I could see, if there was some conspiracy there, let me rephrase. If you're going to say there's conspiracies in that thing, I think the conspiracy that people were trying to kill him and working together makes more sense than the Blue Anon conspiracy, which is to me is that he never got shot. And I think that's it's so freaking.
There's a picture of the bullet.
Yeah, but I mean, what about that Corey Campari guy that got shot?
Well, it's not just a conspiracy that he never got shot. They claimed that he set it up.
Right.
That this was all arranged, but it was arranged by the Trump side for him to get shot and be shot at and be a sympathetic figure, and this would help propel him to the presidency, which, I mean, that is factual. It did, I believe, help propel him to the presidency, because even Mark Zuckerberg had to come out and be like, man, that was a real badass moment there when he gets up and says, fight, fight, fight after being shot. I think that's also the day that he got Elon's support officially. And, which, I mean, I know Elon's on the outside looking in now, but Elon played a big role in Trump getting elected.
We all know that Trump loves himself too much to want to set up anything where a bullet's flying at that close to his face.
Yeah, that's a good point. But and you guys both know me real well that I'm like the anti-conspiracy theorist. So anytime anybody has a conspiracy theory, whether on the right or the left, I jump on it. And I always jump on the right-wing conspiracy theories. But this is a left-wing one that is equally as freaking ridiculous. I mean, to me, really the biggest thing to me is that the firefighter that got killed. Like, what did Trump do? Set up this whole thing where the guy was going to shoot actual bullets and then risk the lives of the people in the audience. I mean, I'm sorry, you have to be really demented to try to believe that and to actually think that somebody would do that. I mean, it just,
I want to say something real quick, kind of off topic, but I saw Olivia Preston is in the comments, and she was on Clay's show. What was it, a little over a week ago, Clay? And she's had people attacking her. I guess, is it for just being associated with you, for coming on your show? Shame on anyone that does something like that. She came on to tell her story about her father and the trauma that her family's been through since then. And she still wants answers and wants justice for her dad. And I mean, I was a daddy's girl and I lost my dad, not in that way, but I can only imagine, how strong you've got to be to get on a radio show and talk about this. That took a lot of gut and a lot of courage, and shame on anybody who has attacked her.
Well, people are losers. But she did get some justice was served as much as can be by the legal system. And the guy got 40 years this week, was found guilty and got 40 years. And he'll have to do, roughly about 30 of it. If he's a model prisoner and doesn't get himself in any trouble and whatnot. So congratulations to them. Well, I hate congratulating somebody on something like that, but it was the best of a worst case scenario. I mean, because it wasn't capital, so that he couldn't get the death penalty, but he'll spend the next 30 to 40 years in prison, probably die there. Honestly, hopefully, that's just my words, my opinion.
He should. Absolutely.
As far as people attacking her for coming on the show, I mean, look, that's obnoxious and it's asinine and people are stupid. You have a large platform and you want to use it to let people, tell their stories. We don't always have to be on the same side politically on things to understand that murder is bad and wanting justice is good. So people who want to trip on people for that are just losers.
They sure are. They sure are. Anyway, I saw that and I just wanted to say if you're one of those people, then just absolutely shame on you. Get a life.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Yeah.
Sorry. I know that
no. Look, I've got to know Olivia here over the last few months. Kind of randomly met her through another friend, and we kind of hit it off through like what we do here. And she's been somebody that I've enjoyed keeping in contact with. And I'd actually got her in contact with Shaun at one point because she wanted some advice on this very topic, about like following this up in the media and stuff. And anyway, it all worked out, and we're glad to have Olivia watching now. And I appreciate her coming on the show and really, really praying for her family's peace and a mental peace. And there's a crazy story within that story, and we'll go back to the Trump stuff, but they had gone back to where her father got killed at to kind of try to piece the puzzle together a little bit and get some belongings and whatnot. And some people rolled up on them right after the cops left them, and got out of the car with face masks on and stuff, ready to rob and or kill them there on the spot. And they realized that they had picked the wrong ones and drove on off. But the story could have ended much differently.
That's awful.
Going back to the Trump stuff, Shaun, I believe that day changed American history. It pointed the ship in another direction, and I believe that day is what got Trump elected. I think that pushed a lot of people over. Well, not just maybe that day, but the things that came after that, and that fight, and all that. I just think that touched a lot of folks. That's like, you know what, this dude's a badass, and divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of people got in his camp after that may not have been there, or maybe were on the fence or whatever. And especially as you kind of see just how him turning his head to point at his graph or chart at that exact moment is what kept the bullet from going in his brain versus through his ear. I think a lot of people that may have been on the fence swung back that way. And I don't know. I think it changed Trump that day too. I know, Shaun, you've mentioned this when we watched him at the Republican National Convention. Yeah, that's right. He was already the candidate because the Republican National Convention was just a few days later.
Right. He had the patch on his
And
ear.
so did Andy Gibson. And
so did he. I was going to say that. So
yeah,
did Andy Gibson.
So, but he came out and he was a different person.
He was more human. He was more relatable. He seemed
to me,
like
he's
a real
always been that guy. He's always seemed like a relatable guy to me. But like to, I guess, to other people who don't like the edgies, the sarcasm, the guy talk and all that stuff. But he you know, people have said he's came across more humbled and all of that. And look, I'm glad whatever it needed for people to feel better about him becoming their president, and we got him elected. And I'm, you know, everything that's happening right now, with the exception of this Epstein debacle, is exactly what I voted for. So, I mean, I'll let them have it's a big fumble, but I'll let them have a fun. You know, one fumble ain't gonna kick me off the team. I have no regrets. I like what we're doing with immigration. I know, Shaun, you said something that Americans seem to be changing their minds since the election. I'm not one of them. I love what we're doing with immigration. I love it all. Like I said, the Epstein thing being the one just massive fumble, but we'll see how it shakes out.
Big deal.
Before we get to, I want to shift to that too, because Lindsey are talking last night, but I do want to say this in relation to the Trump attempted assassination. You know, if you look at the campaign as a whole, Donald Trump probably benefited, like he caught all the breaks, if you know what I mean. Like he had those cases against him, and that turned public sentiment in his favor because people thought he was being prosecuted unfairly,
politically persecuted.
Right. So then you had people. Then you had a lot of steps. You had there was in Colorado, they took him off the ballot, and then you know, so you had all that stuff. Then he gets convicted of that stupid porn star trial, and then there's that debate with Biden when Biden just, you know, craps out, and then you got this, which with the, you know, iconic fight moment, and then they put Kamala Harris. I mean, it's just like he caught every break imaginable that you could.
Yeah.
You know, that everything went his way in that entire campaign. And you know, because usually in politics things don't always go your way all the time, but he caught it all that in 24. He really did.
Well, I think everything that the left did that was meant to hurt him in the long run helped him.
Yeah, that's true. It absolutely did. And I think 2 years ago when I was on Clay's show for the first time, we were talking about the porn star indictment. And I said this is going to backfire because political prosecutions, having been a part of them before, never work out the way you think they're going to work out. When you involve the justice system in politics, it doesn't work out.
Because the people who have talked themselves into going through with those things live in an echo chamber. And they're around people who all think this is a good idea. Oh, man, this is great. We're gonna prosecute our enemy, and everybody's gonna love him because everybody hates him as much as we do, because everybody in our circle hates him, and nobody's telling us what we need to hear. They're telling us what we want to hear, and then you end up with egg all over your face. And I was thinking about this today. Actually, it's going to be interesting to see what comes of the Fonnie Willis case and some of these others that are still out there lingering around. I know she's lost control of it; she can't do it anymore, but that still hasn't been thrown out. You know, what comes with that? What comes with the New York case? Because they're still going to try to put him in prison when his term is over.
Do they hold it back or just give him probation or something? I can't remember.
No, I think they're withholding sentencing until his presidency is over or whatever. We may want to fact check that, but
double check. Yeah, I just don't remember what happened.
Yeah, because even though, and a lot of people don't know this, I mean, Shaun had to tell me that
we're having dog issues here too, by the way.
That even when a president can pardon themselves from what, like a civil case, they can't from a state.
No, they can pardon from a federal, like
federal.
Yeah, state.
Okay.
You cannot. Yeah, the president doesn't have.
Well, yeah, that's why I got a choke on everybody talking about. Well, what Trump could pardon Derek Chauvin? Well, yeah, but he's still not going to get out of prison. He's still.
Yeah, no, exactly, because he's got state charges, so he cannot, right? He cannot. So I think people get that confused. Like the president can pardon you for a like state murder charge, and he doesn't have that power. Only the governor could do that, governor of the respective state. So he cannot pardon himself for the New York porn star case.
Well, that or it's not. It's really like the real one. The real one is the real estate, the bank issue.
Yeah, the one with the AG of New York, the one that's that almost is more ridiculous than the
Yeah,
porn
and
star thing. You know, when you
that
think
and
about
the
it.
that and the lawsuit, the civil suit with the crazy lady who claims he raped her.
Oh, in like the 90s, right? Yeah, E. Jean Carroll,
I mean,
yeah, that's
complete
the one.
nonsense.
That's what I'm saying. There was all this like nonsensical stuff that, and obviously the people that were doing it were thinking, man, this is going to be good stuff. We're really going to like make people hate him. But I mean, all you did is you made a lot of people that like are in the middle sit there and say like, come on, this is BS. Like, how could, first of all, like the land case or the real estate case. And if you read through that, the bank like wanted to do business with him again. Like they made money. Like nobody got screwed. And so it was just, I mean, I don't know. It was just crazy. Like nobody, literally everybody does the
Well,
same thing he did too.
remember when E. Jean Carroll got on there and said something to the extent of rape is a mental is a she said something basically admitting that she didn't get raped. That rape was whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, something like that, right? Yeah, I remember I watched
Rape
that
is
interview.
whatever you want it to
Something to
be.
that extent.
What kind
And then the
of
Letitia
is
James
that?
stuff. Now that this is going to be really sweet to see how this plays out because now she is embroiled in legitimate real estate bullshit where she lied about where she lived, said she was her dad was her husband instead of her father on a title or something like that to basically to claim a second home as a primary home to get a lower interest rate.
Mhm. Yeah, right. I saw
So
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Mhm.
probably going to end up in prison too. It's all fabulous. It is all so rich. It's always the same people who do this stuff, and it comes back to bite them in the butt every single time. And I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see how it all plays
Yeah, but
out. We're only less than a year into. We're not even halfway through the first year of Trump's 4 years, and it's just glorious. Well, we're right at the halfway point of year one. We got 3.5 more years of this gloriousness.
if only we knew who was on that Epstein list
Yeah, and that's the
and could
next
hold
thing.
them accountable.
So they're and I don't know, I'm sure you saw it, Clay, by now, but it kind of hit yesterday afternoon. The Trump put out a Truth Social. What do you call them? What are they
I
called?
call them
Truths?
posts. I refuse to call
Truth.
something a truth.
And and where he jumped pretty hard to the defense of Pam Bondi. Kind of see where he's leaning.
Because Friday afternoon we were getting all these reports that
Bongino
the
and
administration
Cashbill stepping down.
Patel, yeah, they were going to be stepping down if Pam Bondi doesn't go. And I don't know if they're just rumors circulating or if that's kind of what people are wanting to happen because they're so upset with Pam Bondi over this whole entire Epstein fiasco. But Trump's tweet or truth or post yesterday seemed to be in full complete support of Pam Bondi, and he came across pretty angry that people are even talking about Epstein still.
Yeah, he what I'm gathering watching some of this is that so there was an argument in the White House between Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi on Friday or Thursday, one of those days. They got pretty intense, and Bongino has contemplated resigning. I think that he probably will, is the way everything I'm reading and seeing. Also, I've heard that Bongino is not very happy with the job anyway. He doesn't really like it that much, so that this may just give him the out that he might want anyway. So you're probably going to see a Bongino resignation this week. The Pam Bondi, though, a lot on the right want her out. Like you saw Megan Carlson and Charlie Kirk were at I think that Tampa convention this weekend. Both, everybody was calling for Pam Bondi, but the president doesn't seem to want to go that way. But that's not the way he wants to go. I think he's pretty much in full support of Bondi, and that's why these truths came out this weekend, because he was kind of putting out there like, why are you guys keep talking about Epstein? Pam Bondi's doing a great job, blah blah blah. So that's kind of where we are now with
and
it.
I want the focus to be on the 2020 election. That was a big component of his post that he put out. I think it said it twice in there.
Yeah,
but I think people are angry. People fully believe that there is a list.
Look, Alex, again, I'm full supporter of Trump, but what you want and what you get are two different things. He can want it to be on 2020, and I want reconciliation there as well. But they look like idiots over this Epstein thing. They need to call a press conference and try to bandage this thing back together. And at least if they're going to if they're going to play this card of there is no list, you're going to have to explain to us somewhat how you got there.
Yeah, because I mean, people, especially the ones that they like to call the far right, are the ones who are desperate to see somebody held accountable on this issue, and it's not going to go away. It's just not.
Yeah, there, another thing too I've been thinking about is Pam Bondi is getting a lot of heat, and the president is defending her on it. Well, to me I mean, if there's a list or whatever there is, then can't the president just say release the list? I mean, he's the president; he can do that. So why is Bondi taken? I mean, she's just the attorney general. The president of the United States has authority to do whatever he wants to do. It seems like, if there is one, and everybody's mad, then they should, say, "Hey, President Trump, you order her to do that because she works for you."
She it's because of what she said. When she got on Fox News, said the list was on her desk, and they released these trapper keepers and phase one and all this stuff, which from all accounts is 100% Pam Bondi's personal doings. She's going to eat some of this. She's absolutely going to fall on the sword, as she should.
In your opinion, Clay, what was the reasoning? What could have been the reasoning behind that? The social media influencers and the notebooks and this phase one part of it, and building momentum for the public to finally see this list that they've claimed has been top secret for years. Why would she do all that?
I want to say one thing, and this ain't you, Lindsey. Don't take this the wrong way. They continue to call them people influencers. Those people are legitimate independent journalists. They're not influencers. Jake Paul is an influencer. These people are legitimate independent journalists, and the mainstream media has tried to peg them as influencers, just like the local media tries to call Kingfish just a blogger. It's a way to knock them down a peg. And I'm personally not going to use the term influencers when describing them anymore, because those are legitimate independent journalists that had got invited to the White House. That whole photo of them holding up the trapper keepers, once I heard what's her name's version of that story, Shaun, you heard it too, because I heard you mention it on the show the other day. That she was on Crystal and Cigar show, Sager's show, talking about what happened, how they got rushed out, and it just kind of
Liz Wheeler. It was Liz Wheeler.
Liz Wheeler. Thank you. How she had they just kind of had held up the folders because they had all their belongings in their hands because one of the prime ministers of another country had gotten there sooner than expected or something. Anyway, look, I just think it was a terrible look on. I think Liz hit the nail on the head. Pam Bondi has gotten obsessed with smelling her own farts, drinking her own bathwater, wanting to become a MAGA superstar, and she wrote a check with her mouth that her ass can't cash.
I just don't understand that, why she would do that. Why make such a big spectacle of it if you don't know for sure that there's a list that you are actually going to release at some point? You've got to know that that's going to get you a bunch of blowback.
Yeah, well, I think there was a list, and I think somewhere along the way that she got told there ain't a list no more. I mean, I think that's what happened.
That's what I'm going with, and I think that may be why the president is backing her up, because I think maybe the administration, he told her, okay, we're not releasing this. And so she's kind of taking the hits for it. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because if there was a list,
I got a text from a buddy of mine here who kind of saying what I'm saying, but he made a good point at the end that I hadn't thought about. He said, I believe Bondi was told to keep her mouth shut, and the reason she acted so awkward is because she's not used to lying. And that's a valid point, because I thought she was a very credible person. I thought she came across very credible. Once Gates didn't, kind of got booted off the AG ticket, I was like, well, I don't know much about Pam Bondi, but she comes across very formidable, and I liked her. I was like, okay, I like this woman. Everybody that I knew that was familiar with her spoke very highly of her. She passed getting, well, I'm having a brain fart tonight. What's it called? Where the
hearing, the Senate hearings.
Her confirmation hearings. Thank you. She passed her confirmation hearings, probably easier than anybody else other than Marco Rubio. I was like, oh, well, that should have been the red flag. Anytime you pass through those rather easily, I mean, comparatively speaking anyway. But all kidding aside there, something happened. Obviously we're just speculating here, but I like my buddy that text. I think she got told to shut up. Hey, you're burning too bright. we're not ready for this to come out. And I've seen some other people suggest this is Trump and the 4D chess shit, where it's like, no, Trump they've got the information, they know, but he's holding it against other countries to get what he wants. You're about to see a lot of things happen. Well, where Putin does this, or some other country bends and folds and does this when we didn't think they were going to. I'm tired of hearing all that crap. At some point, the chess game has got to be over. There's got to be a winner of this game. And we've got to get some victories. Some people have to get arrested. We can't be playing this perpetual game of 4D chess. This game's got to be over. There's got to be a winner or a loser on this particular round of chess, if that's the analogy we're going to use.
You mean it's like
The
the
Epstein
case?
like, this has got to be put to bed. You're going to have to find some other honeypot to blackmail people with or whatever. Like, this has got to be put to bed. Well, I'm tired of it. I think everybody else is too.
Yeah, it just I agree with whoever texted you. That's why I've been thinking for a while that like I said, Trump is backing Bondi because he had to tell her not to do this. And also another thing I wanted to say is Dan Bongino looks the most. I think Bongino either has seen all this stuff or is just he really believes it.
I think it's the latter. I think he really believes it. I think he's a true believer. I mean, I've listened to Bongino's podcast a lot over the last couple of years. When I was working out or polishing cars or whatever, I listened to Bongino because it was consistent everyday content. And I've never just been the biggest Bongino fan. It wasn't my favorite podcast, but I listened to it a lot. And he is a true believer. I firmly believe that. And I think he's just disgusted with this. I think that he's probably worth $100 million, if not more. He's not doing this for the money. I think he's just disgusted, and he believes that there is absolutely a list. And I hate to see him step down because I think you'd rather have a seat at the table than being on the outside looking in. But if he feels that that's what's best and move back to the outside, I mean, I respect his decision to do so. But I would like to see him stay. Let's see this through just a little bit longer. You guys haven't been at the job for 3 months. Let's give it a little bit more time here.
You know, in this post yesterday, Trump references, like, I think 2 different times that this list was created, or that this story of a list was created by the left.
Yeah, that's the ridiculous.
And I just, to me, that seems crazy because for so long we've been basically told it was the names of the people on the left who were going to be put out as being on this list, are going to be exposed on this list.
Yeah, let's refer about
that. I just wonder, is it because there's going to be names on both sides?
Yeah.
Big names on both sides that are going to, is that what it is?
Names on both sides.
I don't know.
It's rhinos and lefties. I mean, it's full of them. It's full of names on both sides, I believe.
Well, I mean, if it's a bunch of rhinos, then why don't they just, and lefties, then why don't they just release it?
Exactly.
Or can they just do it if that were who's on it? I mean, I'll put that part.
That's how you drain the swamp, right?
I mean, if you look right here, it's got, he says, why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, and Brennan? I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, why that would be now the left's writing this list? Like, are they writing the list, like Lindsey's saying, with people on the left on the list? I mean, how does that work? And if they were writing it, why wouldn't they just written Trump's name on it then?
And put it out.
If that's what they were doing.
But
there is a list.
Telling you there's a list. You calling it a file.
Yeah.
Telling you there's a file.
Their file, right?
After we were just told that there's not one.
That's a good point.
There's clearly a list. There is clearly a list. I just would love to know the reasons why, once anyone sees the list, they decide, oh, we can't put it out.
Good night, Olivia. Thank you for chiming in tonight. We appreciate you. She was saying good night. We got the comments off the screen, but I appreciate Olivia chiming in. Appreciate everybody chiming in. Mr. Dillagaff, mentions Israel has the list. Dillagaff, this ain't directed at you. Don't take this the wrong way. I've heard a term thrown around a little bit here lately that I 100% believe. People have Israel derangement syndrome, just like they have Trump derangement syndrome. And Israel is getting blamed for everything here lately as well. It's like a lot of people on the right have really turned against Israel. And I'm not a pro-Israel guy. I just don't care. But it is interesting to see Israel become the scapegoat for a lot of stuff here lately too. Oh, well, we're not getting what we want. This is Israel controlling Trump. Is it really? I mean, what do y'all think about that?
Is it Israel
I mean, I'm
controlling
being
Trump?
facetious when I ask that. Do you think
I
Israel
would
really
say-
controls Trump?
No, I don't. Look, Israel has had this goes way before Trump. I mean, Israel's relationship with our government. And I mean, also, we were listening to Marjorie Taylor Greene last night, and not someone that I generally praise, but
I've been liking her a lot more lately than I ever
she's
have.
asking questions, I think, that are, and of course, she's a big Trump person. She wasn't knocking him. What she was just saying, like, she was asking questions of why are we giving Israel this amount of money, and why is AIPAC, which is a lobby for Israel, why do they not have to register as a foreign lobbyist? And explaining that most members of Congress are just all, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, are all in the pockets of Israel. And I think like people even asking those questions, which are legitimate questions, now get labeled as an anti-Semite. I mean, she's not saying she hates Jews. She's just saying, why are we doing this for this one country that we don't do for any other?
I'm on the same page. I mean, I'm so aggravated with everybody calling them anti-Semites for questioning the Israel stuff. I know I sound like I'm being like pro-Israel tonight, the way I'm asking this question. I'm not necessarily intending to be, but it's just exhausting when every time we don't get the answer we want on something like this Epstein deal. Oh, it's because of Israel. Is it? I mean,
Well, we were actually on our way to DC when Israel attacked Iran. And when we got off the plane and heard what was happening, my first question, and I asked Shaun this, is do you think we knew? And I think the consensus, or what was being put out by the American government, was that no, I guess maybe we knew that it could possibly be coming, but we didn't know that it was going to happen right then. I don't, Shaun, I think you said, I think we had to have known.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely knew and coordinated. I mean, there's not much Israel does that we don't know, and not much we do that they don't know, because they've got Mossad here.
But do they feel like they're powerful enough to do something like that without telling us, and then know that we'll jump in and save them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think Israel, because they know that American politicians are not going to tell Israel to go jump in a lake. I mean, they're just too in the pockets of each party.
The Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson interview was just one of the greatest pieces of journalistic work I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does make you really question a lot of it. I mean, Cruz's reaction, like he really got caught with his pants down on all that.
Well, when Cruz said, I mean, Tucker asked him clearly, I'll still never forget this part of it, when he said, Ted Cruz said, I wanted to get elected to the Senate to be the senator for Israel. And Tucker's like, but aren't you the senator from Texas?
Like, well, and then he said his reasoning was because it was biblical, but then he couldn't give the scripture in the Bible where it says that. And yet Mr. Dilligaff said, mentioned Candace Owens. You're right. And I've been saying this. Candace Owens has been saying a lot of things that seem to be coming to fruition. Almost seems as though she's right about a lot of things that she has said concerning Israel.
Everybody hasn't seen Tucker tear up Ted Cruz. It's really worth it. Explaining that. He also has a good interview last week with Sager from Breaking Points discussing the Epstein stuff, and then they discussed the Israeli connections. Now, I think it's more like, I mean, I guess people are blaming Israel, but they're saying that that Epstein had a connection to Mossad, which is Israel's intelligence agency. And I think that's where, and of course, that's all speculation for sure. I mean, people are speculating that he is connected to Mossad. And that's, I think they're also making some speculations that he may have been like running, I don't know, washing cash for the CIA. Who knows? I mean, it's something I guess we could just talk about this forever and never really know what the deal is. We know that there's some deal, and there's some reason our government's not releasing this stuff.
I guess I've gotten to this level of frustration with this conversation, like you have with conspiracy theories. It's just, at some point, it's just nauseating to just speculate constantly. And I'm just like, okay, let's start just talking about things that we know we can talk about, that we know are material fact.
But that's what they want. They want us to forget about it and quit talking about it. That's what they're saying. And I think that's just not going to happen here, because a lot of people feel.
No, I'm sorry. Let me be clear. I was just referring to Israel in general, not the Epstein list. I'm sorry. Yeah. No. I'm not ready to quit talking about the Epstein list. But I'm just saying, You know, and if Israel's the reason it's being held up, then so be it. I guess I don't have Israel derangement syndrome. I have Israel exhaustion syndrome. I'm just tired of
Yeah.
Israel,
Yeah.
Israel. And I'm just, frankly, I'm just tired of Israel, Palestine, and all these foreign countries, Ukraine, that are a constant pain in our ass when we have so much going on in America that we need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
To Lindsay's point, though, I think she's right about Epstein. This isn't going away. I was listening to some pretty good analysis of it by somebody that was the spokesman for the Trump Justice Department during the first term. And what this woman said was that the reason that this isn't going to go away is because a lot of the MAGA base aren't your run-of-the-mill voters, like Republican voters, in general, the ones that have been Republican voters for so many decades. They're not that as concerned with policy as they are with certain things like this, like more about the deep state and things like uncovering Epstein, JFK,
Well, it's like the
things
Moms
like
for
that.
Liberty
is what
folks. I don't think that they were as much about policy as much as they were kind of what woke them all up during COVID and some of these things. I think it's very similar. You know, it's like we
Yeah,
want
no, that's good.
change, damn it. We want people exposed. We want things fixed. You know, I don't care about long-term crap.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. She was saying there, like, that's what Trump might be getting confused is because they're not. He's talking about, oh, we've done this, we've done that. What they want to see is things like this come out. They want the veil exposed or whatever you want to call it. But so that's what she was saying. Like, this is just not going to go away until there's some sort of resolution that satisfies people that they're being honest. Which I don't know how you get there. To be
I think
honest,
you've got these diehard Trump supporters who are so confused right now. They don't understand this, and they feel betrayed and let down. And I understand that. And I don't know if there's got to be some sort of reasoning that would make sense to us if we knew it. Again, I think if Israel has something to do with it, why can't you tell us that? You know, I say this all the time, transparency breeds trust. And if you want the American people to trust you, you can't lie to them.
Yeah.
You've got to be transparent. And that's, what a lot of people are fighting for here. And I don't think it's going to go away.
Guys, speaking of things that are going to go away is I am.
Yep. It's our we are
short.
to start cutting.
But I got a radio show tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. You know, you can listen to it on 103.9 FM WYB, or you can watch it wherever you're watching this video as far as my social media platforms. I enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow night with another round of Uncensored Live. Guys, you got anything you want to say?
Not really. I think we'll probably discuss some of this on our show. I'm sure you will tomorrow on yours. Kind of unpack it.
We'll be there
especially
12 to 1.
Yeah, especially the stuff about the tweet this weekend and how that affects everything. Also, we're going to try to, and Clay and Lindsay, I talked about this because we need to work on our sleep schedule. So I think we're going to try to make this like an 8 to 9 show. Is that right, Clay? Is that
seven to 8 to whatever. I mean, I can't go to 10 o'clock every night.
Yeah, we're all Italian, so we love talking. Don't get me wrong, and we'll keep on doing it. But we're gonna probably just make it an hour cap.
All right, well, we'll figure all that out and let y'all know. Appreciate everybody. Shaun, Lindsay, y'all have a good night. Everybody, thank y'all for chiming in.
Yeah.
Peace.
All right.